So Miles, if I send you the link, could you please check that it works?
Yeah.
It's a different link. It's a new one. I have just sent it to you. Я тебе, I'm sorry, I send you the link on Facebook. Does it work? So we are good? Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Miles. Right. I know. That's okay. No secrets. Okay, maybe there are some secrets. But not too big ones. Okay. Okay, I think it's good. All right. All right. So please keep an eye that the stream is live. Okay, and let's wait for everyone else. Yeah.
You can start.
Yeah. 10 a.m. we start sharp. Yeah. Okay, by the way, let me see if the position of the cam is good. Is it good? Pretty good? Okay.
Where are you going?
I think I'll stay on the left. Ну что же, сегодня я надел свой самый единственный костюм. И просто так, по поводу защиты диссертации. Hi, guys. Yeah. Hello, Dimitris.
It's interesting.
Oh.
Thanks for sharing the contact.
Sure. I heard that you met.
Yeah, we chatted a little bit. It was
How
great.
did you like it?
It was great. We presented OCP and their
Have you considered Morocco long term for you?
I will be in Europe, so we'll be close, and as a result, any sort of collaborations can be interesting, but maybe long term.
Maybe, how about if you stop by one time?
Yeah, I would
I
love
have
to.
a project, not research project,
Yeah.
a project with them to help the university, the university,
Mohammed Six.
Mohammed VI. That,
Yeah, to
it's going serious resources, and serious people are
Sure.
opportunity.
let's chat.
Are you ready?
Of course.
Yeah. Wow. We're on for 6
So guys, please help yourself with food.
all kinds of intellectual and otherwise.
I wish.
Yes, 5 years more. How was it? Well, so the third part of the seminary the headline is see us closely. This is the Emperor Roman Monarchies. It talks about one of the one of the things talks about one of the works. Take a look. Specifically, there's a documentary, but it's one thing to look at all it's another thing to your person. Very different. Because you see the actual person. The lady. Yeah.
So guys, just a small announcement that I will repeat one more time later on, that I'm streaming this defense online on YouTube. Just to let you know.
Is it live?
It's like,
So your parents are looking at it at the moment.
yeah, and friends.
Or is that how many people?
Mine is actually no, because because he's on YouTube watching the same stream and trying to
Checking out.
yes, yeah, checking that
The KGB is looking.
KGB is looking. You will dissolve this live stream if you say what you not.
make any progress on our discussion?
Yeah, I'm meeting I'm meeting with Georgia.
Yeah, afternoon, but those are the-
At 3, yeah, sure. I'm back.
You guys? Okay. So did you see the topic? Oh.
Who's the live streamer?
Both are exciting.
Huh? Your colleague control?
Who's sitting here? Oh, you can spot.
Okay. Well, but do you have enough cord? Yes. Thank you. You're gonna leave some space for the colleague control to move it. Oh, so you're actually checking the quality control? Quality control, exactly. Oh, you need to now put the phone in front of me. Great.
Analytics never works.
Auxiliary. That's
So where is the? Is this the
Yes.
ceremony?
yes. Okay. So should we start?
I will introduce you.
Okay. So could you give me this introduction from here, please?
Introducing. Could you also give? Should I also give the defense?
You can do it.
Yeah.
Let's make it.
I have a couple of questions actually.
So in Sweden, the person who actually does their thesis is not defending himself. They have an opponent. So once I was an opponent, and I presented the thesis. The person was the mother of the lady. It was a lady, a student, the only women Supreme Court judge in Sweden, and the father was also the rector of the university. No pressure, huh? I presented the work.
Oh, you presented the work.
Because that's what they have the system.
In the Netherlands, when you're the defense is very serious. You don't really know if you pass before the thing. Sometimes it's fail.
Really?
Yeah.
How much
And you're all dressed, and it's a very, very formal thing. I don't know about Russia.
They don't
Neither do I.
They don't have defense.
Yeah.
What's the country where they give you a sword after you?
I think no.
Chile, no?
No, that would be a problem.
Okay, guys. The plastic plates just arrived, so help yourself with food.
Dishes.
Yes.
Oh. I was wondering if.
Now that the
It's
food
very
arrived,
optional.
people arrive too.
Yes. Following the smell.
Miles is here.
Miles is here. What? He's a quality control
He's a
engineer.
quality control engineer. I see.
Yeah.
I thought he was hidden somewhere in a room checking, who's checking, who's. You have half your ascended here.
That's great. That's great.
We should all get there and live stream.
Pardon?
We should all go over there and say hi.
We can do it in the end. We can
Yeah,
just rotate the.
How many viewers do you have?
How many viewers? We should ask Miles. 8.
Will do.
Nice. I can help inflate the numbers.
So, Patrick, do you recognize the figure?
Of course.
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna answer questions. Just right there.
It is part of the defense?
oh, yes.
Yeah, he wants me to do something.
You will understand it. We will understand it.
Can you send a link? You can tweet it, so then maybe we'll get more followers.
So between Victor today.
Okay.
Maybe call you afterwards.
Yes. You can. Well, or we can wait. It's up to you, Dimitris. But yes. But Dimitris, if you could make an introduction, like
I will, don't worry.
Send a link now?
What's the name?
Dimitri is gonna introduce
What's the name
me,
of?
and then I will. What should I say? What is your name?
And is your sister?
Yes.
What's your name of your sister? I met her.
Anya. Let me write it.
Right here. So good morning, everybody. First of all, I understand we have a first that the thesis is going to be broadcasted live in Russia, and Nikita's parents are following, so I would like to extend a warm welcome to them. In particular, Elena, Evgeny, and Anya, whom I have met. Few comments on Nikita. So Patrick and I were the supervisors, and I believe we typically agree with Patrick, so I don't think I have to check with him. But
We'll see.
you check.
Depends on what you're gonna say now.
Of course. So we met Nikita 5 years ago, and I have seen quite an interesting transformation, quite remarkable, in fact. So Nikita comes from Russia, and his undergraduate degree is in mathematics. And so during the last 5 years, I see a transformation of more or less a pure mathematician to an OR person. And as you know, I mean my words. So every year I could see, working with data, computations, in addition to proofs, which he had anyway. But that was an interesting, exciting, and quite rewarding for me, I suspect for Patrick, observation of a maturation process from a mathematician to an operational researcher. I give you Nikita, who will be talking about his PhD thesis on robust optimization approach to online problems.
Just before you start, I just wanted to say one thing. I asked Nikita at one point, how did he pick Dimitri and me as co-advisors? It's easy. The first name is Patrick. The first name is Dimitri. Primal duo. I was really offended. I like duality. So for me, then I realized primal, you always remain visible. Does that mean that? I don't know.
So I hope that our collaboration with you, Patrick, and with you, Dimitris, is a great proof of the strong duality theory. Yeah.
It is true, by the way.
That's true.
All right. So thanks everyone for coming. Today I'm going to present my PhD thesis, which is dedicated to online problems and the robust optimization approach that we use in order to model and to solve these type of problems. A brief outline of the thesis. So first of all, I'm going to present a generic framework that I applied to a class of online problems. And then I'll talk about specific applications when this optimization-based framework can lead to new efficient algorithms. First of all, let me introduce two large classes of problems. And offline problems, they are characterized by input data given ahead of time to the system designer. So while the online algorithms, they assume a discrete sequence of time periods, and decisions should be made at each of these time steps. And at any given time step tau, the fragments of input data related to this problem, they are available up to time period tau. So the fragments of data corresponding to future time periods, they remain uncertain. So, and I just duplicated this figure on the whiteboard, just because this concept will emerge many times during the presentation. So, and in the setting of online problems, we still have a very important question. How can we design an efficient algorithm despite the fact that we don't know what will happen in future with certainty? And one possible answer that turns out to be an efficient answer is a combination of mixed integer and robust optimization. So, and let me tell you like the schema that we apply to this type of problems. So first of all, we take an online problem and we try to formulate it as a multi-period optimization problem, leveraging modeling power of mixed integer optimization. Then, given that some of the input data corresponding to the future time periods are uncertain, we apply robust optimization methodology to express some intuition or assumptions about this future by means of uncertainty set. Then we apply robust optimization to solve the mixed integer problem under uncertainty. And typically, it's not the end of the story, because like real-world applications, they have specific complications, such as, for instance, in some scenarios, the decisions should be made really fast. If it's a multi-agent setting, then we may want to organize the efficient communication between these agents. Sometimes we need to produce decisions that are unbiased, and so on and so forth. So, and I would like to emphasize that the robust optimization literature was primarily concerned on offline problems. And in this thesis, we try to build a bridge and to demonstrate that RO can be also applied to, efficiently applied to online algorithms as well. And the first application that I'm going to talk about today is one of the fundamental problems of online computation, the so-called K-server problem. And this is a joint work with Dimitris and Patrick. So let me introduce the problem first. Let's assume that we have a metric space, and we have K servers located somewhere in this space. And we have a sequence of requests that emerge one by one, somewhere in this metric space. And we need to allocate immediately one of the servers to fulfill these requests. The cost associated with this assignment, it's the distance traveled between the location of the assigned server and the location of request. And all algorithms that we are going to consider, they will seek to minimize the total distance traveled by all servers over the horizon of optimization. So, and for the sake of brevity, I will speak about the simplest case when the metric space is just the unit interval with Euclidean distance. And we are going to keep track of the configuration of the system. That is, we will observe the vector of locations of all servers. So if we assign server K at time tau to request sigma tau, then the location of this request becomes equal to sigma tau, and the locations of the rest of the servers, they are unchanged. And there is a cost associated with this assignment. So the, yes?
When the server fulfills a request, do you have a
service time?
Server? Yeah.
No, the classical problem doesn't assume any traveling time between like the location of request and the location of the server, and there is no service time. Yes.
After processing that request, do you reroute it in a different area?
No, it remains in the location of request.
So the idea, okay, so it's a static problem.
It's a static.
This your decision is static.
Yep. So we do not move, we move servers only if we assign them to a specific request. And after fulfilling the request, the server remains in the same location.
Are there connections to facility location?
Facility location problem? Well, that's hard to say because facility location problem seems like indeed a static problem. It's one-shot problem.
Yeah.
You need to identify when to build the facilities, and that's it. While here you have dynamics because you have a sequence of requests emerging over time. So, and this problem, the K-server problem, has many practical applications in different decision-making domains, statistics, computer science, scheduling, and so on and so forth. And I would like to emphasize like one of the most prominent algorithms presented by computer science society, and it's called work function algorithm, because this algorithm has very strong empirical performance and best known theoretical guarantees. So, and what we do in this research project, we take the best available algorithm from the computer science literature, WFA. We design the brand new robust optimization-based algorithm from the optimization literature. We merge these two approaches into one holistic approach, as we call it. And this new algorithm will outperform the existing state-of-the-art methods.
So the WFA is due to Borodin and Elianim, or not Papadimitriou and Kouchoukas, not contribute to this?
Yeah, Borodin is the book. It was defined way before.
Okay.
But
Okay, thank you. So without diving into like too many details, mathematical details behind the WFA algorithm, I'll just explain the idea. So when we need to make an assignment decision at time step tau, the input data that we give to the algorithm is the very first configuration of the system, the current configuration of the system before time step tau. And we assume that we know all past locations of request with certainty. And in this case, the WFA algorithm will assign a server that has the best balance between myopic decision and the strategic decision. And what I mean by this, the myopic decision would be to assign the closest server to the request. And this myopic term is this term. This is just the distance between locations and the of requests and the server. While the strategic decision would be an interesting idea. Like what would be the optimal assignment at time step tau if we were able to modify our past decisions? So in some sense, the perspective of the algorithm is that our past decisions and past data influences the current time step decisions. Yes, and the claim is that WFA algorithm can be modeled by a simple linear mixed integer optimization problem. And in order to prove this claim, let me begin with the simplest version of the K-server problem, the offline version of the problem, when the entire sequence of requests is assumed to be known ahead of time for the entire optimization horizon. So, and if we introduce decision variables, axis, they keep track of the location of servers at time, over time, while Y's, they are binary assignment indicators. Then the key equation of the formulation will be this equality. So the location of server K at time t is either unchanged if we do not assign this server, that is this assignment indicator is equals to 0, or if we do assign this server, then the location of the server becomes equal to the location of request sigma t hat. And overall, the offline version of the problem is a simple linear mixed integer problem where we minimize the total distance traveled by all servers. We keep track of the location of requests. At each time step, we assign exactly one server, and that's it. Yes, we do have in this brief form, we have a product of a binary variable and a continuous variable, but it's not a problem. We can easily linearize this. So, and okay, if we know how to model the offline counterpart of the problem, the WFA algorithm is an easy extension because we just need to add the greedy term to the objective function. This guy goes to here. And we fix not only the initial configuration of the system, but only the current configuration of the system by some auxiliary linear constraints. The only thing that I would like to highlight in this formulation of WFA is that the limits for the time index t, they are between 1 and tau. So, and the current decision that we should make is described by time step tau. So we indeed look into the past to make a decision. Yes.
Could you give some intuition, your intuition, about why is this a good algorithm for the online problem?
Yes, sure. So, of course, this strategic part is not that easy to comprehend because we are not allowed to change our decisions; they're irrevocable. But, like, to try to replicate the last fragment of this optimal sequence, it has some merit because it's like a part of the optimal solution. And this is my understanding why incorporation of the strategic term helps.
So if I understand,
Yes.
So you sigma. So you like the only decision that is truthfully online is the very last one.
Exactly.
You know, where
Exactly.
you go next.
Yes.
So in a sense, the question is from where. But we basically solve the offline problem. It's a combination. It's not.
Yes.
It's to identify where would have. Is to give us information from where to visit. I'd like to give you a bit more detail. I would like you to give you more, for you to give a bit more detail about some intuition here.
Sure.
Because it's a bit unusual. It's because we revisit history every time.
Yes. Well, let's look at the definition of the WFA algorithm. We actually inspect all possibilities. We take the minimum, our minimum with respect to all servers. We test all of them. And ideally, we would like to assign the server that is a part of the optimal sequence of assignments from the very beginning. But if it costs us too much, which is controlled by this greedy term for this time step tau, we don't do this. We indeed try to find like a balanced solution between replicating the strategic solution and the cost for this replication. Yes.
Is C of the distance that, if I do the optimal solution, the distance that the server K you're going to choose was going to travel during that time period, or is it the total cost?
So COPT, I think. Okay, I didn't explicitly define it here, but OPT means that we solve an offline problem. And offline problem is the following. The initial configuration of the servers is x0. The last configuration of the system that we also fix is described by this vector. And this vector x tau that depends of k is the configuration of the system that we will observe if we assign server k at time period tau. And of course, we know like the entire sequence of requests from the very beginning until and including the current time step tau. So this is like the total distance traveled over this horizon. Ali?
So the last vector corresponds to the vector state if
Yes.
we make the decision, the greedy like the decision on the right, the one that the one corresponding to assigning k, and everyone else is unchanged.
Yes.
So x subscript k tau is not a vector.
So
It's a location
it's location.
of the k.
This.
My understanding
Yes.
is x hat of k is a vector, is a
It's a
configuration vector. But the last one,
Yes.
xk,
It's just the distance.
is the distance between the
Yes.
kth location and
So
of the kth
K
server
index
at
here.
the
It's
time
like
minus one period and the next request.
So
So let me give an intuition on
Please,
level
Patrick.
and on why was it defined. So the K server was a part of an online problem, right? And the goal of designing online algorithm is to design an algorithm that beats the worst case, right? And the worst case situation is usually given by an adversary, right? So the idea to look at the past is to say that you don't have any information about the future and the adversary can choose the worst possible for you, but it will be evaluated by the past as well. So if you look at what the past has been, you're going to get an idea of what the cost of the adversary will be, and that might help you make a best decision now. Yeah. And that was why it was introduced in the theory of computer science.
Yep, correct. Thank you. So, yeah, once again, in the WFA formulation, we indeed take into account past locations of request. And the opposite perspective on the problem would be to take into account the future locations of requests that, of course, are uncertain, but we can treat them as uncertain parameters because there is a methodology that can handle these type of problems. And I'm sure many of you know this methodology. It's robust optimization. So we introduce the vector of future request sigma, and we express some assumptions about this request by means of uncertainty set. And this key dynamics equation becomes the equation under uncertainty. And since we don't know how to robustify equations, we make like a handy change of variables to transform this equation into equivalent form, so we have an inequality. So in the end of the day, the robust optimization algorithm for the K server problem can be modeled by a standard linear robust optimization problem that is known to be tractable. So, and here I would like to emphasize that now the time limits are from tau to n, where n is greater than tau. So we indeed try to look into the future, and the future assumptions about assumptions about the future time periods start to influence our current decisions. Yes.
So the y's are variables. The YKs are variables.
YKs are the variables.
I see products over there.
That's correct.
Products.
Yes, we linearize them because they are all binary.
It's whole thing.
Whole thing, because we just
doesn't
need to
the complexity. Give some intuition from the because if you linearize all these products, I mean, it's not. It can be done, but it's not exactly a walk in the park. So,
well, this is an equivalent reformulation because all these,
a walk in the park is difficult. This is an online problem. You have to take online decisions. So, tell us a little bit about the difficulty of linearization as far as the running time of the overall algorithm.
I'll speak about this. It's still a tractable problem, even if we move to the affine adaptive robust optimization counterpart. And this is, we make one more technical feature. We make our future assignment decisions, wait and see decisions, to be affine functions of uncertain parameters that should be realized by the time when we need to make the corresponding decisions. And we make it just to reduce the conservatism of solutions in case when the uncertainty set is not very restrictive. So our information about the future is like too vague, and we don't want to be like too pessimistic. So this is just the technique to reduce the conservatism. And
you also relax the fact that the YKs are binary. You
yes.
Consider them as, in a way, as probabilities.
So
as a relaxation.
So the here and now decisions for time step tau, we can fix them to be binary because we need for sure. But the future assignments, they indeed will be relaxed to be between 0 and 1 rather than binary assignments, since it's an affine function of some uncertainty. So, and I would like to introduce one more parameter of the method, capital T. Is it how many time periods, future time periods, we would like to incorporates into the description of the uncertainty set. So, and this is a graphical representation of two methods on the timeline. So let's assume that we are at time t equals tau, and the WFA algorithm and the corresponding mixed integer optimization formulation looks into the past. Let's say it takes into account the most recent W time periods. And while the affine adaptive robust optimization method, it considers the next capital T time periods from the future. So, and when we merge these two formulations into one, we can obtain the holistic adaptive robust optimization algorithm that, in my numerical experiments, brief, but hopefully illustrative, will outperform the existing algorithms. Ali, you had a question.
So are there like polynomial time like algorithms to implement the WFA policy? Is it solvable efficiently in the sense of?
So WFA is like extremely fast.
But when you presented it, it was still a mixed integer.
Yes, it's mixed integer optimization problem.
So there's. Okay, sure.
Okay. All right. So,
but its claim to fame is that it's 2k minus 1 competitive.
And
4k equals 2, it's 3 competitive. I don't know this literature as well, but I think it's the best known.
It's the best known, but the empirical performance is much better than this 2k minus 1. And so what we do here, we just would like to test the performance of different algorithms.
Could you go back one more?
Yes.
So
Here.
VK star, no, down, the star.
Yes.
So you solve, so there's something I don't understand. So could you go back one more to see the, I'm trying to see where is the connection of the variables between the C-opt and the AARO. So this is what I'm trying to.
Yeah. So WFA, the definition of WFA is the first term.
Sure.
And of course, it has the decision variables for the current time period tau, right? This is the last time period that we, and AARO starts from t equals tau. So this is the only time period where the two formulations intersect.
So in other words, the last decision of the WFA should coincide with the first decision of the AARO, and this is where the problems connect.
And we have like a specific constraint, making sure that these two recommendations are consistent with each other. All right. So the experiment is the following. How do we test the performance of algorithms? Empirical competitive ratio. So we sample like the long sequence of requests according to some distributions in some metric space with some distance. And the best possible algorithm, of course, is an offline algorithm that we denote by OPT. This algorithm knows the locations of all future requests with certainty. So, and the performance metric of interest is the ratio of two objective costs over this horizon of 1,000 requests. And this is a typical figure of performance of the methods. So on the horizontal line, we have the level of information. So the larger the parameter n, the more exact information about the location of next capital T request we feed to an algorithm. So, and on the vertical axis, we have the empirical competitive ratio. So 1 is like the best possible, and the smaller the better. It means the closer we are to the optimal algorithm. And the greedy and WFA algorithm, they do not depend on the information that you feed to an algorithm about the future by construction. This is why their performance is just flat lines. While the robust optimization algorithms that we design, especially the holistic adaptive robust optimization approach, it constitutes a lower bound on the performance of all methods, regardless of the level of information available.
Not it's the low, it's the best.
It's the best.
It's not the lower bound.
Yeah. Yes.
It has the lowest.
The lowest empirical So it's computationally tractable method since we can produce high quality recommendations within a matter of seconds. And
Can you go back?
yes. So this is just an example for the continuous metric space of dimension 2. We have 15 servers. We uniformly distribute the location of requests. And of course, the more time periods we take into account from the future and from the past, the more time we need to find the optimal solution of the problem.
What is W?
W is the number of past time steps.
Okay.
And,
How far back you?
Yes. George.
So do you have the, can you go back to that? So do you have the same thing for W?
For what?
For W? Because like you see, like if you take more past
Yes,
steps,
yes.
it's the same thing.
So here W is equal to 20 for this specific problem, and we did like the sensitivity test with respect to these parameters W and N. What's like the performance? Of course, it there is like we observed a significant jump from 10 to 20. Like we started to perform significantly better, but after 20, like there was not a big improvement.
My question,
Yes.
is there a relation between what you consider in the past and what you consider?
Well, we treat these two parameters as independent, and we build like a grid to see like how each of the parameters affects the performance of the
It's
method.
like a cross-validation experiment. You try to find those parameters that improve the performance.
Yes, like cross-validation of
I don't know if
sensitivity.
it's, maybe, is it monotone W? The longer you look back, the better the algorithm is? Because I see that it takes longer and longer.
Yes. So
But is it monotone on W?
like, so after, if we increase the number W from 20 to 30, I didn't observe like a significant improvement in the performance of the method. John.
So could you give some intuition about like what you mean by level of information and how
Yes.
you would integrate that
Yes.
into an uncertainty
Of
set?
course. So the idea is the following. So let's assume that we would like to incorporate information about the next capital T time steps. But instead of feeding the precise locations of the request, we describe in the uncertainty set the neighborhood of each request. And like the radius of this neighborhood controls how good your forecast is. And basically this n is a reciprocal of radius. So the larger the n, the smaller the radius. So the more precise information about the locations. All right. So, and holistic adaptive robust optimization approach turns out to be stable with respect to potential errors in your assumptions about the future. So even if you inject consciously or subconsciously some noise, some errors in these locations, true locations that John just asked, your forecast should be, even if your forecast is quite poor, you'll still beat the competitors in terms of the performance. So overall, for the K-server problem, we suggested mixed integer optimization formulations for offline counterpart for the WFA algorithm, and that represent the computer science literature. We created our robust optimization counterparts, and we merged these two formulations. We obtained the holistic algorithm that has a strong empirical performance.
So my question is, when you increase n, performance improves.
Yes.
What is the downside? Is there a significant downside to increasing n?
There is no downside. If you have like a great forecast for like your future, that's awesome. You should like implement it. The price is important, right? If you have this forecast available or not.
No computational cost.
There is no computational cost. It's like it's just the same uncertainty set, polyhedral uncertainty set. It's just one parameter that controls the radius changes. Okay, sorry, English.
So you will be going to Uber soon.
True.
Wow. If Uber still exists.
So for his sake.
Yeah.
So what aspects of the So, in what ways this problem is the Uber problem? In what ways it is not the Uber problem?
So, of course, this is like the consideration of the most classical and the simplest problem, because there is no service time, there is no travel time. And the first thing that I would do as like the future research step, I would upgrade the current formulations, the mixed integer formulations, incorporating these two things.
But this is not a complex story.
It's kind of complex. I tried to do this.
The distances, instead of having, distances are not that complex. So, all right, so you are saying these two are not not that modulo distances and service times is the Uber problem, more or less. Is it correct? Am I correct in that?
Well, I don't know yet. Maybe
Invasive.
maybe if you invite me for C seminar at some point.
Uber will not allow you to say. But you think?
But I will
it should
be happy to
close.
see you again.
Me too.
All right. The second problem is it. Okay. Sorry. But
So actually, it's a question. So here still you're solving. If you have T time periods, you're solving T MIPS.
yes. At each time step, we resolve the same problem.
Have you thought of a method where you would is there a reformulation that takes the dynamic of your problem?
What do you mean dynamic? Like a continuous time?
Yeah.
No, I have never seen one, and but of course this is much more practical, right? That's another possibility to make this problem closer to real-world application. Max?
So it seems like your method takes into account a forecast of what's going to happen in the future in a very general sense. Are there any computer science methods that take into account forecasts? So that's partly why you put it there.
So, you know, like the primary perspective of the competitive ratio that used to measure the performance of the algorithm is like, what is the price of not knowing the future with certainty, right? But like our perspective is like, often it's the case that we know something about the future. So this is why we incorporate this uncertainty set, right? So, so yeah, like maybe Patrick knows about this.
So should I do the defense? So the answer is yes, but typically what they do is they make an assumption about the probabilistic assumption. So it's much more precise than the robust. So in some sense, you say, well, maybe the request will be IID uniform. And then based on that, you need to define the competitive ratio as a random variable, and you need to say something about the expectation, how this ratio converges in probability and things like that. So yes, that's been studied, but not like that. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. The second application that I'm going to talk about is the fleet defense problem. And this is a joint work with Dimitris and Patrick. So let me describe the problem. So let's assume that we have a set of ships in the battlefield. And there is a set of threats targeting these ships. And one threat can simultaneously target more than one ship with some known probabilities. In order to organize a defense, the captains of the ships captains can fire weapons against these enemy missiles. And these weapons can be of two types. Hard kill weapons, they assume to physically destroy the incoming threats. And soft kill weapons, they have, for instance, electronic nature, and they are assumed to deflect the incoming threats, for instance, by jamming or by creating an imaginary object. So, and the objective of this problem is to defend all the ships, hopefully that all ships survive, and to spend as few weapons for this defense as possible. And some simplified versions of this problem have been studied before, and some heuristics have been suggested for the exact problem. But I would like to concentrate our attention on the recent paper of Becker and his colleagues, where they formulated the exact fleet defense problem, incorporating both types of weapons in the form of the second order cone problem. It's they consider the case of the single attack, and primarily they concentrated on the centralized approach to the problem in the
Second order problem, binary variable.
with binary variables. Yes, so this is a highly nonlinear mixed binary problem, and this is why I have this complaint here. This is sorry,
But the truth is the truth.
so it's possible to solve this type of formulation, but it takes on average minutes to solve an instance of a practical size. And what we are going to do in this research project, we will extend the fleet defense problem to the setting with multiple consecutive attacks. We will expedite the computational time, and we will also suggest a cooperation protocol for the decentralized setting. So let me briefly tell you the mathematical model of the problem. So we have a set of ships indexed by S with some predefined survival probabilities, gamma S, that constitute the lower bound on the probability with which we need to protect ship S. Threats J, they are characterized by targeting probabilities QJS that we assume to be given to the system designer. And weapons are characterized by their efficiency Bij. This is a probability that weapon I will destroy threat J if we fire this weapon against this threat J. So, and this is essentially a weapon to target assignment problem. And so the most important variables in this problem are binary assignments problems that we decide to fire weapon I against threat J. So, and I will need a couple of auxiliary variables to explain you the idea behind the formulation. EJS is a probability that threat J escapes the defense and destroys ship S. And WS is an auxiliary multiplicative slack variable for the survival constraint that I'll talk about in a second. So, as Dimitris mentioned, this problem is non-linear problem, and let me briefly explain you where non-linearity comes from. So let's, for instance, consider the probability that threat J will destroy ship S. It's equal to the initial targeting probability, QJS, multiplied by some product. So if you do not fire any weapons against this threat J, then this product is, all these x's are equals to 0, and this product can be just ignored. So the destruction probability is equal to the initial targeting probability. But if we fire weapon I against threat J, then corresponding x becomes 1, and we discount this targeting probability by some factor. So, and just for modeling needs, we can rewrite it in the equivalent form like this. So this is like the mathematical formulation of the fleet defense problem in the centralized scenario when there is one decision maker who possesses all the data about the field of action, and for single attack. So let me explain you just the most important parts of this formulation. So first of all ships S should be protected with probability at least gamma S. And this product represents the survival probability. And if we can guarantee this level of survival, then the slack variable WS is equal to 1 at the optimum solution. And in this case, there is no penalty in the objective function for this secure scenario. But if the survival probability is below the required threshold, then the slack variable is strictly greater than 1. And this scenario will be heavily penalized, what is governed by this factor lambda, which is assumed to be large enough. And the first term in the objective function is the number of weapons that we spend for the defense. So, okay, this is a mixed binary highly nonlinear problem, But fortunately, like all the nonlinear constraints that we have in this formulation, they have the form of the product of non-negative variables, actually probabilities, greater or equal than some predefined threshold gamma. So, and we can efficiently solve nonlinear problems with this type of constraints if we employ lazy constraints methodology. And I would like to thank Miles, who is with us today, who taught me what this technique is. So, and the idea is the following. So if we relax all nonlinear constraints in the formulation, we solve the relaxation and obtain the optimal solution Y. Then we sequentially test if this test point satisfies all omitted nonlinear constraints. And if it's the case, then we solved the initial nonlinear problem. But if it's not the case, for these specific types of constraints, we can efficiently project this testing point onto the boundary of the convex set. And we can efficiently separate this testing point from the boundary. So we add this nonlinear constraint to the formulation and we iterate. Yes.
Linear constraint.
What did I say?
Non-linear.
Linear. Thank you. Yes, it's linear. All right. So
Instead of, because the constraint x1, x product greater than gamma
yes.
can be written as a sequence of SOCP constraints.
Yes.
Instead, you're doing cutting plane.
I do.
And the reason it's working well is because you have close-form
Exactly.
expression,
Yes.
and you don't use
Yes.
the normal projection.
Yes.
You use something that's close-form.
Well, actually, both this type of projection and
And the other
orthogonal projections, they both can be done like in the closed form.
And finding the thing.
And find everything, yes, for this type of constraints. Yeah.
Otherwise.
So, and we prove this type of lemmas in the thesis. All right. So we can also formulate the multi-period problem by introduction of adaptive binary survival indicators, US tau, that ship S is destroyed before the beginning of time period tau. And if the ship is destroyed, then we don't need to protect it anymore. And
Fantastic.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, if it's under this gamma S, doesn't mean it's destroyed.
yeah, this is
It
why
might be destroyed.
this is why I say adaptive binary survival indicator. So, and of course, we are not allowed to use weapons on board of destroyed ship. And both types of constraints can be modeled in the form of simple linear and not so linear constraints.
But they are simple.
But we still remain in the same class, so it's still a very tractable problem. So decentralized approach. Unfortunately, it's not the case in the real world that there is one admiral who possesses all the information about the battlefield and can quickly solve the global optimization problem and then distribute assignments what to do, like for all captains. In real world, there are like separate captains, and all of them possess some privately held information about the battlefield, namely the efficiency of their own weapons. And you know, when the missiles are already flying, they don't have that much time for communication, and they need to know what to broadcast to each other and how to cooperate. And this is why we suggest one communication and cooperation protocol, assuming that there is very limited communication capabilities. Namely, we introduce new binary decision variables, FGS, if the captain of ship S decides to broadcast to the companions that she fires at least one weapon against threat J. And what's the idea behind these binary variables and actually the entire communication protocol? If there are two captains, let's say Patrick and Dimitris. So
And you are the admiral.
no, this is decentralized. Yeah. So, and they share the same threat. So, and if Patrick knows that Dimitris fires at least one weapon against this threat, then this threat becomes less dangerous for Patrick as well, and he can update his understanding on the field of action.
That's why I plan to call you in the afternoon.
Yeah. So very quickly, 3 steps of the protocol. The first one is the self-defense step. So each captain tries to primarily defend her own ship, while at the same time trying to understand what are the most valuable messages that she can broadcast to the companions. Yes.
So one thing that you might want to say also is that it's not just the speed of things, it's the limited number of information that you want to convey to the rest.
Exactly.
While you have some private information yourself, so that other people can reconstruct things that people that don't own private information would not be able to recalculate everything. Right? So there is also this limitation of communication, but it's also
A limitation of computation.
Also, since you are broadcasting, everyone can
Yes.
hear eavesdrop.
Yes.
But with that communication, people will not be able to recalculate the
Yes.
entire solution
Yes.
because they don't own the private
Yes.
information that is not in
Security of the
which is very important.
yes, security of the broadcasting is also important. So okay, on the first step, everyone tries to defend her own ship and determines which messages to send. On the second step, each captain sends everything what they believe is like the most valuable information to their companions, and everyone updates their.
But what is the information they send?
They send
F-guides.
they send these F-guides, yes, that they fire at least one weapon against a specific threat. So, and on the second step, everyone updates their understanding of the battlefield. And since there is still a lot of uncertainty, this is a decision making under uncertainty. And this is where we apply robust optimization. So, and on the third,
When in doubt,
yeah, we had to inject robust optimization at some point. Yeah. So, and on the third step of the protocol, everyone updates their self-defense plan with this new revealed information. So, computational experiments. So, let me show you this slide, which represents the computational time if you solve the fleet defense problem using the second order cone formulation known before. We can see that for instance of a typical size, it takes a few minutes to solve, and you don't have these minutes, unfortunately. So, but if you employ the lazy constraint algorithm, then we can solve this problem really fast within a matter of few seconds. Yes, Virgil.
How many times do you have to solve your, how many constraints?
Okay, how many iterations I have?
Lazy.
Well, I did count it at some point, maybe like 100 to 300 times, but it's a linear mixed binary problem each time of pretty small size. So the nonlinearity was, you know, the bottleneck of the formulation. So the modeling of nonlinear constraints, yeah, was the main problem. All right, and the cooperation protocol results. So we have 5 ships with some randomly generated thresholds. We have 10 threats, and we have 16 hard kill weapons distributed over the fleet. And each, we assume that each ship can send at most 2 binary messages about their local decisions. So, and we consider 3 different approaches to solve fleet defense problems. Completely centralized with this admiral. Completely decentralized when there is no communication between agents at all. And this protocol based on robust optimizations that I just described. So, and there is a number of different like survival characteristics that can be inspected. But let's just concentrate on the average number of ships that survive for the sake of brevity. So we can observe that in the idealistic scenario, when there is one central decision maker, pretty much almost all 5 ships survive on average. If ships do not communicate at all, then on average 2 ships survive. But if you implement this simple and fast, robust optimization-based protocol, with only 2 messages broadcasted by each captain, you can immediately save 1 ship. All right, so for the FDP problem, we designed a new efficient algorithm to quickly solve this problem. So we designed multi-period formulation, and we suggested the efficient cooperation protocol. Right. So the last application that I'm going to talk about is a joint work with Dimitris and Alex Weinstein, who's with us today. So, and the application is related to the A/B testing of new treatments. So pharmaceutical companies, they spend billions of dollars to conduct clinical trials on new treatments. And given that this is a long and expensive process, the sample size is typically not that large. The number of people involved in the trial can be less than 100 or 200 people. And the golden standard right now is that practitioners, they randomly assign people to treatment or control group. And what can happen, given that the sample size is not large, just by randomness, that one group will be healthier than another one. And this difference in health can be even higher than the difference, than the treatment effect of a new treatment. And in this case, the practitioner can make both types of errors. She can call the useless treatment great and vice versa. And both types of errors are very expensive for the pharma companies. This is why we look into this problem. We believe it's very important. And of course, we suggest a new approach based on optimization instead of randomization. So there are 2 different classes of clinical trials. Offline, where the practitioner knows all subjects recruited to the trial ahead of time. Think about mice in a laboratory, and she can measure like all the covariates of all subjects ahead of time prior to making any assignment decisions, any allocation decisions of subjects into groups. While the online setting is more complex, people arrive one by one sequentially, and we need to make decisions where to send the person on the fly. And of course, these both settings were studied before, but I would like to concentrate now on this mixed integer optimization approach by Bert Simmons, Johnson, Carlos, that delivers a large number of benefits that inspire us. Yeah. So the offline setting can be represented as the following mixed integer optimization problem. So let's assume that we have n people, and each person is represented by a scalar, a covariate that is like the most important for this health disease, for instance. And we would like to split these n people into m groups. The decision variables are where to send each person. And of course, having introduced these decisions, we can express the first and the second moment in each group. And one possible way to model the assignment problem is to minimize the maximum pairwise distance between 2 groups, where the distance between groups is measured as a weighted sum of differences in first moment and the second moment. So it's a simple linear mixed binary problem. And it delivers a lot of benefits.
It's really pure. I mean, there are some variables.
Yeah.
It's pure binary.
Pure. Oh, yes. Pure binary. Correct. Not really. But
Practically speaking.
well, you need to model these settings.
It's substitute. Everything's binary.
D will be continuous. One variable will be continuous. Anyway. But most of them binary.
Okay.
All right. So this algorithm generates extremely balanced groups, much more balanced than competitors. It's computationally tractable. It has low potential for bias. And what is more important, the statistical power of this method is much higher than other state-of-the-art methods. And what is the statistical power? In simple words, this is a probability that the practitioner will be able to detect the positive treatment effect when there is one. So, and the online configuration of the same algorithm that we design can be expressed as follows. So we have a time index tau representing the sequence of people entering the trial. And we have the same assignment decision, where to send each person tau. And at time step tau, we have the following input data. We know all the covariates of all people up to time period tau. And we also know the irrevocable assignment decisions from the past. And the future covariates, they are uncertain. We don't know who will enter the trial in the future. But we employ robust optimization technique, and we say that we assume that the people who we will observe in the future will be not that different from people who we have already observed. And we can express this assumption by means of uncertainty set, in this case, ellipsoid uncertainty set, for the sake of tractability. So, and the diameter of this ellipsoid, the robustness parameter gamma, will be random, to make the algorithm random, not deterministic, and therefore making sure that there is no selection bias. But I'll talk about this a little bit later. So the idea is the following.
You should give some reference to Natalie's thesis. The random gamma.
Yes. Okay.
Yes? Yes. Full stop.
Okay. Dimitri suggested this idea to randomize gamma. And
From Natalie's thesis.
From Natalie's thesis. So Dimitri is the cause.
There's not enough randomness with the uncertainty set that also the uncertainty set parameters should also be uncertain.
Should we build an uncertainty set on the robustness parameter?
Exactly.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. So, all right. In this online setting, we can still express the uncertain mean and uncertain variance of each group. They are uncertain because the covariance of future people, they are uncertain. But in the end of the day, we can formulate this at each time step. We can formulate the RO algorithm in the form of quadratic robust optimization problem with quadratic objective function and quadratic uncertainty set.
You forgot the squares there?
No? No?
What's the quadratic objective? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's hidden in the definition of variance. So, and this, it's a quite a complex problem, and it took Alex and me maybe a few months and 10 pages of the paper to explain why this problem is tractable. But we found a closed form solution that's extremely efficient and
took 1 month. Not a few months.
We just didn't tell you when we started.
Maybe.
So empirical performance. We would like to claim that the statistical power of our optimization-based algorithm is higher in some, well, it's at least as high as the statistical power of our competitors. It's often higher, and sometimes it's extremely higher. And of course, we will present you an example of an extreme edge. Just a few words about our competitors. Most of them, all of them are randomization-based, and most of them are based on the biased coin design. And biased coin design is an assignment mechanism that will assign a person arrived at time period tau to one of the groups with some probabilities. And this probability is higher if these assignments to this group will improve the overall balance between the groups in a myopic fashion. Myopic because we say nothing about the future people that who will enter the trial. So how do we measure power? So let's assume we have n people and two groups, treatment and control. We administer the corresponding treatment and measure the response VT. So, and we test the null hypothesis that the treatment has no effect on response VT. There are two possible ways. There are much more ways to estimate the average treatment effect, but we consider two in this paper. The unadjusted, where we just take the average response in treatment group, average response in control, we subtract them, and this is our estimation of the treatment effect. And the regression based, where a posteriori we can regress the response on covariates of all people and on binary indicator that the person is in a treatment group. And the coefficient in front of this binary indicator is also a valid estimator of the treatment effect. So, and then we apply the bootstrap techniques suggested by Efron to estimate the power of the algorithm. So in our experiment, we assume that each person is represented by two independent covariates. Each of them is standard normal. And we consider three covariate response models. No relationship, linear and non-linear. Let's talk about the first one, for instance. So the response is a quadratic function of covariates plus some noise plus the constant true treatment effect if the person is in a treatment group and zero otherwise. So and we consider like other we consider different sizes of the clinical trial. So this is the empirical estimation of the power under three different scenarios: NL, lean, and no relationship. Three different clinical trials, and two different estimators of the average treatment effect: regression-based and unadjusted. So in the scenario when there is no relationship, it doesn't matter how you balance your people with respect to covariates that do not matter. So nothing helps. All algorithms have approximately the same power, and linear adjustment, of course, also doesn't help. In linear case, we observe that the adjusted regression-based estimator significantly improves the estimation of the power for all methods, including the optimization-based algorithm. And we don't have any edge here because we believe that the a posteriori linear adjustment nails down the problem for this scenario. But in most of the cases, of course, the response is a nonlinear function of covariate that we actually don't know ahead of time. But we observe that for this particular response model, which is quite simple, by the way, we observe that even for a small sample size, we have significant improvement in terms of power. And yeah, the complementary question is, what is the smallest sample size needed to achieve a high statistical power for various treatment effects, for various sizes of a treatment effect? And we observe then the pink line corresponding to the covariate adaptive robust optimization method that we suggested has the best performance. And it means that we need less people to reliably detect the positive treatment effect. And this improvement can be as high as 50%. So we can reduce the sample size needed to as big as 50%. Yes,
Are you going to talk about CARO of K?
No, I didn't plan to, but I can make a brief comment on this. So that this optimization-based approach has some practical extensions. The first one is that, of course, each person can be represented by not a scalar by a vector of covariates. So we can model the multidimensional case. And the second extension is that extension that Dimitris mentioned. We call it aggregated Caro algorithm. And it's described by a setting when the practitioner can wait for a while the cohort of people arrives to the trial, and then to make the allocation decisions. So we shouldn't make these allocation decisions on the fly, but we can wait for a while, let's say for a week or something. And of course, when this aggregation level grows, the performance of our method significantly improves even more. Okay, and just a brief comment that the covariate adaptive robust optimization algorithm that we suggest has a low potential for 3 types of bias. First of all, there is no selection bias because the algorithm is randomized. Second, there is like a reason bias for inference because the randomization with respect to this diameter of ellipsoid injects enough randomness to trust our power experiments. And the last type of bias, accidental bias, is we also provided both empirical and theoretical evidence that Caro algorithm has low potential for this type of bias with respect to both observed and unobserved covariates. So overall, Daisy, you have a question?
Yeah, just in terms of bias,
Yes.
another thing to potentially complicate the clinical trial story is the double blindedness. So I was thinking during the offline or online setting, I'm a nurse that I had a PhD from URC, and I know a model you're using. I would know who are the people that's assigned to treatment.
That's correct.
So is there a way to mitigate that effect?
But
does the robustness help in that setting?
well, but at each time step, when the decision should be made, you sample gamma independently. So it's not gamma for the entire trial, not the same gamma for the entire trial. You sample it at each time step. So you cannot predict where you should assign person, even if you know everything what happened so far. Yes. Net gamma is really useful. All right. So for the online clinical trials, we suggested optimization-based assignment mechanisms, which is computationally very tractable. It produces groups that are very balanced. It has low potential for bias, and the improvement in terms of the sample size needed to achieve a high level of power can be as high as 50% for some nonlinear covariate response models. Overall, in this thesis, we considered a class of online problems, and we suggested a mixed integer and robust optimization methodology that leads not just only to new efficient algorithms that produce more cost-effective solutions, but also this approach allows a practitioner to address some specific needs of the problems, such as tractability, communication between agents, and generation of unbiased decisions. Questions and comments? Dimitris, please.
So, in all the parts of the thesis that you presented, and as the title suggests, robust optimization played a role, a significant one. So, what did you learn from this in the end of the day?
So,
I mean, I'm not talking about a specific problem. You know, looking global. These are 3 different problems in different areas, from fairly diverse, I would say. So, what?
So, you know,
the benefit of the younger generation.
Yes. My answer is biased, but
I thought I'm biased.
This is a theory.
In practice now.
Yes. Well, there are many different ways to address the uncertainty, right, in optimization problems. It's stochastic optimization and approaches from online computation that Patrick mentioned. And but of course, I'm biased because I had a lot of not just experience, but a lot of successful experience with robust optimization. As a tractable technique to address the fact that sometimes we don't know the future with certainty, but even if we can express some reasonable assumptions about this future, we can significantly improve the performance of the algorithm. And given that we have a great team that work on Julia and Jang, who inject this type of methodology to the software that is very user-friendly, I think it's a great tool for practitioners and for theoreticians to model the uncertainty. Any other questions?
Why isn't there mixed integer in the title of these? So did mixed integer and robust.
Dimitri's why?
It's your thesis, not mine. We advise it. Co-advisor.
But you know, optimization. Okay, that's a fair question. That's a fair question. Yeah. I wanted to say that for me, optimization is by default mixed integer.
Mixed integer. Okay, good. That's a very good answer. Perfect.
I repeat again that the problem in the third part, it was a pure binary problem. The mixed is an afterthought. It's really a pure binary problem. I mean, do you assign or you don't assign?
But we need one continuous variable
Give me it.
to model the sum of the absolute
But
values.
he didn't say linear. He didn't say pure binary linear. So it's pure binary non-linear.
That's why mixed.
I see. All right. Okay. That's it. What I have.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
From working on both online and robust optimization problems, do you see any kind of connection both types of approaches? It seems as if like you kind of take an adversarial perspective on edging yourself into this kind of.
Sure. So what I noticed and I was very glad that a large number of online problems, by virtue of exceptional modeling power of mixed integer optimization, can be formulated in the form of mixed integer optimization problem. And I think this is a connection because from here, pretty much everyone in this room knows what to do with these type of problems. Yeah.
So in the last part of this again, so the literature on design of clinical trials and so forth is vast. I mean,
Yes.
you know, easily 50 years old. And randomization is the name of the game. I mean, you know, if you,
Correct.
You know, you applied in an online setting and optimization perspective. Could you give us a sense of what you learned about the relative strengths and weaknesses of optimization versus randomization in a world where optimization is very minimally present and very long literature? Because in the other problems, optimization is the name of the game anyway, but not in this world.
Correct. So why exactly like the randomization is like the golden standard right now in clinical trials? Well, first of all, because it's easier than optimization, and like the problem that we constructed is quite involved, right?
Unobserved covariance. The reason randomization is present is because if there are unobserved covariates, there's no reason to. And that's the major reason it's being used. Also, lack of knowledge of optimization in the community, but practically.
Yes, like the fear of entering, like injecting some bias, right? But we try our best to demonstrate both empirically and we have some theoretical results as well to say that the optimization approach does not introduce any type of bias. And even if it does, we have some theoretical guarantees that we cannot do significantly worse than the existing randomization-based algorithms.
So to make it concrete, suppose you go to Uber, and Uber is interested, as it would be, at some point in the future, to do experiments about, let's say, self-driving.
A/B testing, of course. It's like a generic concept.
Suppose you would like to do an experiment to find something, you know, would you propose, and under what circumstances, such an approach versus the pure randomization approach?
Of course, like I talked about this research in my interviews, and they liked it.
They hired you as a result?
They liked it so much that maybe it was one of the factors that helped them to make a decision.
You have not, maybe not Patrick, you told us that.
Yeah, of course I talked about this A/B testing work and the work with Alex on exceptional responders, that you should all come today at 2 and listen. It's also like a great story.
It's a completely unbiased perspective.
Shameless. Yeah. So they are very interested in both of the applications, both A/B testing and identification of exceptional responders. So of course I not just will propose this approach, I have already advertised it.
You haven't told me, so the question was appropriate.
Yeah. All right.
Other comments? Once, twice. Thank you.
All right.
All right. So thanks everyone for coming. Just the last comment. So I would like to say special thanks to Miles, Lilia, Natalie, and Deli, who helped me to organize this defense. And I would like to say special thanks to the committee. Juan Pablo, muchas gracias. Patrick, merci beaucoup.
Let's see the Greek.
Dimitris Evcharisto.
Wow.
And thank you for everyone else. И спасибо тем, кто смотрит в России. Thank you.
Last opportunity for more food.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. Not now, later. Okay.
There we go.
You can take photographs, no?
Yeah, but he's trying to turn off the recording.
Do what you want.
I mean, I need to turn
the recording. Yeah.
I need to stop the recording, obviously. Вот так вот. Боря, привет. Привет.
Я неслышно опоздал и слушал тебя из-за двери.
Да?
Я признался сейчас на весь мир.
Да. Примерно так. Thank you very much.
Do you do it?
Alex, I'll talk to you. I don't have to do the first part of that.
Colin will come, and you will have much harder time.
Yeah, I know.
I just said that we use bootstrap technique introduced by Colin. It was okay.
But everyone will understand it very well, so they'll ask really effective questions.
I like it. There was a lot of comments. And how long did it take? More than an hour.
An hour.
Hour and 15 minutes. I didn't expect so much comments in the very beginning.
Yeah, there was a lot of them.
Yeah, because people don't work on these transportation problems. Really? Huge thank you. And it was fun, right, guys? Like, congrats, bro. Thank you.
I forgot that I should get out.
Yeah.
I think maybe I still inside.
You are not thinking. They are like they are deciding right now.
Your fate.
My fate.
Your future. They are talking about everything but you at the moment.
For how long? For how long?
Well, usually they spend 10 minutes saying to each other about their weekend, summer plans.
Look at the puzzles.
You get some food, you don't. Yeah, that's what I usually like to think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just like to have to take a lot of time.
Yes. There's plenty of I don't know if it's appropriate, but something about sleep and fast and stuff like that by the Russian.
Especially when you're talking back to this.
Exactly. We're learning about the whole thing right now. I can take you out of Uber and immediately hire a
Yo, this is like live stream on YouTube right now. I can see y'all talking on YouTube right now. Over there. Is that time?
Links to finance.
Yes. Something major.
so we should not say things
No, no.
are sensitive.
Like the only good news is that like
I think it's just me watching, so I think it's okay.
That's good, actually.
so the only good news of my audience is not that.
Okay, so this is what you're saying on YouTube. It's like, stupid. Well, algorithm is not good. I really want to go to Uber.
All right, guys. Thanks for organizing. Ellie, Lilia, Natalie, Miles.
That is the one defense where there's so many organizers.
Yeah. Yeah. More than committee members.
More than the committee members.
Yeah.
Do we have a say whether you pass or not?
Just go in there.
No, I think so.
Okay, they are here. Okay, Miles.
Candidate.
I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
One
Pablo, thank you very much. All right. So should we make like a group picture? Maybe inside the room?
You are in control. You have to tell us what you want.
Let's go. Well done. This is a perfect timing. We are making a group picture. Yeah.
See, I think I commented in a couple of days. Oh yeah, I know that. But you can see it on YouTube. It's live streaming now, and it's going to end up being. It'll stay.
So what are we doing?
Yes.
Maybe
So you sell Ultra in the
Patrick and I.
applied
One with Patrick and I.
Study the same under
Then
that.
whatever you want. Patrick,
Yes,
maybe the three of us first, then the committee.
Is it a good background? Can we?
It's the
Shall
best.
we make a little bit more?
No,
Maybe
no,
we
no,
can
no.
take the shadows.
So could you please just stay closer?
Okay.
Can you remove this chair?
Relax.
Everything is over. Okay, can I have handshakes?
Handshakes.
Because it was too dark there.
Like,
So how about you take one with the three of us? I'm sorry. All right.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay. Thanks a
So
lot.
now you take whatever you
Now,
want.
And the group one, okay?
And the group one. Stay
Where did everyone go?
Guys, join us. Come on, the lazy constraint guy. Come on.
They can assign you do también.
Maybe in the afternoon.
Sí, al final terminó digo las gracias a todos.
So you're playing soccer?
Assuming.
You're playing soccer?
Assuming.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
So which position?
He's a real
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm hopeless at that.
You play?
I don't know, so it does more of a Chilean than I am.
Yeah, I was playing with each other.
Thank you
That
very
was
much.
my
Alright.
yeah, a long time ago.
You don't
France.
Congratulations.
And of an era for you.
That's gonna be my
Where
This guy, do you play soccer?
Okay. And so there are a lot of
But you
people from Europe that are there, that are older, working in biotech or whatever. And and they have this, over 40 competition, over 50.
Yes.
So the first time I went there, I said, why don't you come and
But
play?
anyway.
There were a couple of Italians, there were a couple of Spanish,
Under.
over 40. Yeah. And I was just like, well, that's good, that's going to be relaxed. These guys are good. And because they think there's still a lot of 20, but they played very well before. And now, of course, physically, they're not as good as they use force. Right? As opposed to technique. And every Sunday morning, people would just like that.
You're gonna enjoy it really badly.
It's just like, you have to be
One
careful.
completely want to go today.
Joey used to play, and one day he comes with a gash here.
We also have a photographer.
With several, I don't know how many stitches he had played soccer. I was like, yes, soccer at MIT is it's like serious business. People get injured. Like, he actually had, was limping for months.
Yeah, I pulled my calf,
Oh,
so I couldn't play for like 3 months.
Thank you.
So I see.
Why don't
Also, this thing is a trick.
You're from France?
Yes.
Where in France?
I was born in the Jura.
Look at
close
that.
to Switzerland.
I always say hi.
But I spent my life
There
in,
is like a MIT
in
logo,
Paris.
MIT
But,
logo.
originally from
It's a mission statement.
just north of actually.
You can go under the mission.
Yes. We can roll it also.
I'm in operation research. I'm like the ECS department.
You cannot
So
say
maybe
too
you
long.
should say two words for people that are.
All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. So, see you soon. All right. It's recursive. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you very much, Juan Pablo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Congratulations again, colleague.
Yeah. All right.
We have the presence online.
That's
Not very
All the best.
Nikita, I didn't